All right, we'll get started here. Media, thank you for joining. We'll go to John W. Davis of Winsider.
Hey, Coach Fisher. Over these next few days, you'll finally get to practice again. How important is practice going to be leading into Thursday's game, regardless who you play?
I think, it's it'll be really important. I think that, when you're trying to form either new habits or maintain and sustain, older habits, you have to practice them in order to maintain them and sustain them and build new ones. And so, it'll be good for us. Hopefully we will, be able to get healthier in terms of being able to practice and, get ourselves through some of the physical repetition that we need to be a little stronger in some areas. But the most important thing is getting these ladies some rest and some recovery, mentally and physically over the next, couple days, so that we can, kind of start to rebuild the energy that it's going to take to have an opportunity to win Thursday night.
Dorothy Gentry, New York Times.
Hi, Coach. Along the same lines, can you be specific about what has worked for you that you absolutely want to keep doing, and what has mostly worked that you may need to fine tune and kind of tweak moving into the playoffs?
I think, the things that have worked for us are, when we're playing together and sharing the basketball and moving it, we tend to play better, more efficiently. We had some great looks today that we did not convert. But I think those are things that we can continue to do, which is why, other than the last couple games, we've shot the ball really well this year at good percentages and been a fairly efficient team. So, if we can kind of recharge our batteries a little bit, I think that's something that we can do. And then, also I think we've been really good defensively, most of the season, if not the entire season. And, I think, being able to rely on that end of the floor is something that, we need to continue to understand that that's how we're going to get it done, even if, we aren't making as many shots as we'd like to. In terms of, I think tightening up, I think our execution offensively in terms of, when we run different actions or sets that we have, I think really being able to trust our ability to execute it all the way through, and that we don't have to stop the execution to try and manufacture an opportunity, but that we are capable of running good offense and getting high percentage shots. And then I think the same thing defensively, trusting ourselves that that we can put multiple stops together, and continuing to try and figure out a way to protect our paint and defend without fouling, in particular against good playoff teams. You can't put teams on the free throw line too much in the postseason.
Adam Grossbart, LA Daily News.
Derek, two things. Just, your team has been able to come back from, similar second half deficits all year. What wasn't that you weren't quite able to get over the hump in this game? And then do you worry at all about going into the postseason on your first 2-game losing streak of the year?
The first question, I think, when you're fighting, whether it's a possession, an even game, or you're fighting from behind a little bit, or even if you're ahead, sustaining the energy that you need to play a 40-minute, WNBA game at a high level, that's the hardest part. And when you're shorthanded, that makes it even harder. And, because the energy it takes to get the multiple stops, the energy it takes to execute at a high level offensively and not settle maybe for a quick shot just because, from a fatigue standpoint, it's too hard to keep running around and keep screening and keep cutting and, you know, keep running at a really fast speed. So, you know, that's an area where hopefully we can get for our team, you know, get a couple extra bodies back so that we have the energy to sustain it over the course of 40 minutes. And, you know, in terms of, you know, I think in the WNBA, almost more than, you know, I don't want to say any other sport. In college basketball, obviously has a single elimination type of format, but I don't know if anything really, you know, carries over much into what, you know, one game. You know, you could have won 12 games in a row going into that one game, and if you don't play well that night, your season's over. So, you know, I think more so than losing the last two games, and that somehow kind of lingering, I think it's just more about us getting ourselves rested, recovered a little bit, and then just, you know, building ourselves back up so that we're ready to have an opportunity to win a game on Thursday night. The regular season's in the books. We can't change it. And, you know, it's time to get after it.
Last question for Coach Pavy, H&B Media.
Hey, Coach. You just mentioned the regular season, and earlier this year I asked you, you know, to give your team a grade. So now at the conclusion of the regular season, if I could ask you again to give your team a grade, all things considered, and why would you pick that grade?
Yeah, no, Pep, I'm normally a pretty hard, you know, grader, but I think considering all things, and, you know, a lot of things that, you know, we don't talk about in these sessions, you know, I probably would give our team, you know, I would say probably a B plus. I think that it's difficult to articulate how difficult it, you know, was coming into this season, how difficult it has been to, you know, play the games based on the schedule that we've had and what these ladies have endured personally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, professionally, and to still, you know, find a way through the ups and downs of it. You know, the injuries kind of caught up to us this last week or so, and to still just, you know, have an opportunity to still get a double bye on the last weekend of the season. You know, I just think they still deserve a lot of love and support and credit for that, because it, you know, regardless of who we have on the team, it would have been a lot easier to just kind of go through the motions this year. But I think our ladies were still intentional about trying to be one of the top teams in this league. And, you know, here we are, the season's over. We're one of the top three teams, you know, in the W from a record standpoint. And if we can get healthy and you know, find a way to play good basketball at the right time, we feel like we still have a chance to compete for a championship. You know, so that's another reason why I would, you know, still give us a pretty decent grade.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate everything all season too.
All right, media, we'll start with Nneka Ogwumike. Please raise your hand in the chat. Start with Dorothy Gentry, New York Times.
Hi, thank you for your time. Can you talk about what it took for you guys to get here, to get to this point, to end the season, and what you plan to do to kind of tweak some things and kind of get ready for the playoffs?
It took a lot. It wasn't just about the plane. It was about the bubble season, getting here physically, and then being in a bubble, playing every other day. We all 140 of us have had to deal with that. And so to make it to 22 games is a serious accomplishment. Of course, you know, we want to finish as strong as we can, but either way, the season's not over. We have a great opportunity ahead of us. And quite frankly, the first thing we're thinking about right now is recovery.
John W. Davis, Winsider.
What are you looking forward to doing, you know, over these next couple of days when it comes to recovery and even having a chance to practice with the team and go over some things that you probably see during the game, but you just don't have time to really take the the minutia to spend, 20 minutes on one subject or something like that?
I mean, we've really been the team that's taken things one game at a time, one day at a time. So the recovery aspect is literally just take a break from your body, take a break from thinking about basketball for a second, and even taking a break from each other. We've seen each other every day for the better part of 100 days. And so being able to reconnect with yourself, and not forget what we did to get here, and also not forget about the reasons why we are here. And of course, being able to get practice time in this type of season is essential, especially going into playoffs. I'm not even sure if we've had 10 practices. I'm pretty sure we haven't. So this will be a good opportunity for us to get some repetition and develop more chemistry, as we want to see in our next game.
Michelle Vopel, ESPN.
Yeah, Nneka, you talked about the recovery aspect. I know you guys have been a little beat up, in the last week or so. When you guys are at your best, can you sort of describe what makes Sparks basketball the best? Because I think we've seen that for stretches this season.
Yeah. Well, one, everyone's healthy. And then if we just want to speak, generally, I think that we're at our best when we're getting stops, when we bring the energy to the game, when the ball is moving, when our bodies are moving, just very fluid basketball. I think that one thing about our team is that we're not very predictable when it comes to, I guess you could say, like plays and schemes per se. And we have a very deep bench, and that's something that we really want to lean into in the postseason. I think that there was a point in the season when our bench at times had more points than the starters of the teams that we were playing. And I think that would be really great for us to be able to get that rest and get everybody back comfortable into rotation into this postseason.
Last question for Nneka Lo Yarnell, LASparks.com.
Hi, Nneka. Sometimes it's harder to go into the playoffs with straight wins than with some losses. So what is the team going to take from these past two games to motivate you with that first game in playoffs?
I think that one thing that Fish really does well is that he doesn't allow us to dwell. He preaches about, moving on, moving forward, attending to what is happening right now. Obviously, we wanted to be stronger in our finish, but we very much understand that the season is not over. And that's something that we can look forward to, especially given the sacrifices that we have made individually as a team, as members of the WNBA, to come here and to be here. We've worked very hard to get to this point. Although we didn't finish how we wanted to, we still finished third, which is still a really great thing. So, we're looking, as far as I know, we finished third, but we're looking to get that rest and really come into this playoff swing with some new energy, and a great run that we're looking forward to.
Thanks, Nneka.
Thank you.
All right, questions for Candace Parker. We'll start with Adam Grossbart, LA Daily News.
Hey, Candace, you've talked this year about the team being able to come back from second half comebacks that they might not have come from, in past years. Just what was it tonight that you weren't able to quite get over the hump when you started making it?
Las Vegas is a really good team. They play really well. They move the ball. Defensively, I feel like in that third quarter, we started playing a little bit more aggressive. But when you exert so much energy trying to get back into the game, with good teams, it's a struggle to finish it out.
Pavy, H&B Media.
Hey, Candace. Obviously the full season, isn't over yet, but the regular season is. So all things considered, if I could ask you to give your team a grade for this season, what would it be, and why would you pick that grade?
I think I'm more of a grade on area. So, you don't just get an overall grade. You get a grade in math. You get a grade in geometry. You get a grade in social studies. So, for me, I think that I'll give an area that we excel. We excel when we play great defense. We get stops. We get out in transition and secondary. I would give us an A++++ when we do that. we need to rebound better, and we need to move the ball. Like, we need to score better in our half-court set. So when we aren't getting stops, our half-court defense can kind of get us able to set our defense. I mean, our half-court offense can allow us to set our defense.
Chris Camello.
Hey, Candace, obviously not the way you wanted to end the regular season. I'm just curious. Talk about your performance. I know Pavy mentioned the team's performance, but talk about the season that you had. What were your thoughts on that?
I feel like the season's just beginning. The regular season is great. But that's not what you play for. So I think overall we got better, especially with the situation. I mean, everybody was in the same bubble and standard of playing every other day. And like I said, my only wish is just to be healthy going into postseason. And that's the case. And, we're going to do our job to try to get better over these next 4 or 5 days, or 3 or 4 days actually, to put ourselves in a great position going into the postseason, because that's what you play for.
Time for 2 more. We'll go to Dorothy Gentry, New York Times.
Hi, Candace. Thank you for your time. Specifically, what has mostly worked that you may need to fine tune and tweak as you head to the playoffs? And then what has worked for you that you absolutely want to keep doing as you head to the playoffs?
I think we're great when we're cutting hard and when we're moving without the ball. I think for our team, that's key. I mean, I don't know how many more nights we're going to shoot 5 for 22, I hope, from the 3-point line. So when that's going, it just opens up everything else. So we got to continue to cut hard and to move without the basketball. I mean, we're talented enough to, in the postseason, be scoring over 85 to 90 points. And tonight, we just scored 70. So, yes, it's on the defensive end, but also, when we are in our half-court set, we got to move and cut with a purpose and, get somebody else open.
Last question for today, John W. Davis, Winsider.
Hey, Candace. To my understanding, you haven't really had like a real practice in almost a couple of weeks, and Nneka said that she feels like you haven't even practiced more than 10 times this whole regular season. So with that said, how important do you feel like the next couple days, let's say you get to practice 2, maybe 3 times, how important is that going to be heading into the playoffs?
I think it's going to be important for us, going in. I think it's a balance of focusing on ourselves, because I think so much focus is on the next team that you're playing in the regular season, and now we don't know who we're going to play. So all we can do is focus on ourselves and try to get better. I think it'll help because we're not playing 40 minutes of grueling basketball, so we'll be able to get rest, hopefully, and work on ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you.